Have you ever felt that the longer you wait to be ready, the less you actually do? Most people believe that motivation comes first. But the truth is, motivation is the result of action, not its prerequisite. Motivation shows up only when you take that first step. If you keep waiting, life will pass right before your eyes, and others will take everything that could have been yours. You already know what to do. You have a clear plan, yet you hesitate. Days slip by, weeks pass. Your goals remain stuck in the same place. Then you tell yourself, I lack motivation. I don't feel the energy. But the real truth is, motivation comes only after you've already started moving. The greatest mental trap is believing that confidence has to come first. But winners are those who move forward despite fear. They make decisions, even with doubts, even with fear. And those very decisions give them clarity, courage, and ultimately motivation. I've seen this hundreds of times. Entrepreneurs built empires from zero. Salespeople exceeded their targets even when they didn't believe in themselves. I myself once thought I had to feel inspired before I could write. I would sit for hours and nothing would happen. Then I forced myself to write, with no ideas, with no excitement, and slowly words began to flow. The first line was useless. The second was average. But the third opened the door. That's the truth. Action unlocks the path. This illusion that motivation comes first has drowned countless talents in inactivity. The world will not wait for you to be ready. Either you act now, or you'll watch your life slip into the hands of others. Have you ever thought you couldn't start something new without confidence? Confidence isn't born. It's built through action. Just like muscles grow stronger with effort, confidence grows every single time you move forward despite uncertainty. How many times have you delayed something thinking, let me learn a little more first? How many opportunities have you lost waiting for the right time? And now, after all that waiting, what has changed? If you're like most people, the answer is nothing. Time doesn't erase inaction, it multiplies regret. Thomas Edison didn't wait for some magical moment to invent the bulb. He failed thousands of times, refined his work, and eventually succeeded. Henry Ford built cars when people didn't even believe it was possible. He didn't have certainty, but he had the courage to decide. They were human beings just like you. Not gods, not miracle workers. The only difference was that they understood action has more power than thought. The cost of their failures was enormous, over 115 million, but their success made them immortal. Here's a question you may not like. How many times have you used thinking as an excuse to avoid action? How many times have you disguised your inactivity as planning, when in truth you were just avoiding fear? Thinking without acting is like trying to row a boat stuck in the sand. You get exhausted but move not even an inch. A salesman who hesitates to make his first call will drown in fear until he forces himself to dial that number. The first call feels terrifying. The second gets a little easier. By the third, he begins to believe he can do it. And he truly can, because he stepped out of the prison of emotion and took control of his actions. If you're waiting to feel ready, I can tell you with certainty you'll never feel ready. The path becomes clear only after the decision, never before. It's like walking in fog. The next step only appears once you take the first. Sitting still and imagining the end only creates anxiety. But the moment you move, the fog begins to fade. Modern psychology confirms that small, deliberate actions activate the brain centers of focus and motivation. In other words, your mind gets motivated only when you start. Motion creates momentum. It's biological, real, and measurable. So stop asking yourself if you're ready. Motivation won't strike like lightning. You have to generate it, and it starts with one simple action. Take the first step. Today. Right now. With whatever you have. Can you send one email? Can you make one call? Can you give 10 minutes of full focus? Just start. You don't need to change the world. All you need to prove is that you can take action. Then the world will start changing because of you. Fear is the biggest controller. It doesn't scream. It whispers, disguising itself as reason. Tells you, now isn't the right time. You need more preparation. What if everything goes wrong? And you believe it. You stop. You wait. And without realizing, you trade your freedom for a false sense of safety. The problem isn't fear itself, we all feel it. The real problem is treating fear like it's a wise teacher. But fear lies, and it lies well, because in 90% of cases, it's based on imagination, not reality. You're not afraid of what has already happened, you're afraid of what might happen. Rejection, failure, embarrassment, loss, criticism. But tell me, of all the things you feared the most, how many actually happened? And even if they did they destroy you? Fear hypnotizes you. It magnifies outcomes and shrinks your courage. But there's a cure: bold action. When you move toward what scares you, fear loses its power. It sounds contradictory, but it's true. Take Edwin C. Barnes, for example. A simple man with no money, no connections, only one dream: to work with Thomas Edison. Fear could have stopped him, but he made a decision to tell the world's most brilliant man that he wanted to be his partner. He didn't listen to fear. He jumped onto a freight train without a ticket and traveled hundreds of miles to Edison's doorstep. He was met with doubt, given trivial work. But he stayed. He worked. He persisted. Years later, when Edison needed a leader for his new invention, Barnes proved himself. He fulfilled his dream because he took action, while others only imagined. How many chances have you lost just because you feared looking foolish? How many times have you told yourself, "What if I fail?" and used that as an excuse to do nothing? You convince yourself that you're being cautious, but the truth is, an invisible enemy called fear has chained you. Fear doesn't need to be defeated. You can simply ignore it and keep moving forward. And moving forward is the real answer. Over time, the voice of fear fades because the human brain learns through repetition. Each time you face fear, it shrinks. Each time you act while trembling, your nervous system learns that you are safe. That's the moment everything changes. Modern psychology has proven that the anticipation of fear is more painful than the reality itself. Studies show that the mental stress of waiting for a negative event is more intense than the event itself, which means fear hurts you twice, once before and once during. But when you act, the first pain disappears. You pull fear out of imagination and into reality, where it is never as powerful as it seems. I know this firsthand. When Andrew Carnegie challenged me to spend 20 years studying the most successful people, there were no guarantees, no money, no recognition, no promise of publication. Fear surrounded me. It whispered, "This is madness. No one will believe you. You'll waste your youth." And yet, I said yes. That one decision changed my life forever. You say you haven't started because you want to do it the right way. But the truth is, you're scared. Scared of starting small. Scared of making mistakes. Scared of looking foolish. And so, you procrastinate. You distract yourself. While time moves on, relentless and unshaken. No matter how brilliant your idea is, how detailed your plan is, or how pure your dream is, if you don't take action, nothing will change. You may already hold the key to unlock the door of success, but if you don't turn it, you'll always remain outside. You must understand that incomplete action is always better than perfect intentions. You don't need to start perfectly every single time, you just need to start. And if starting feels impossible, then use the 5-minute rule. The simplest and most powerful rule I have ever known. Tell yourself that you'll focus on the task for just 5 minutes. Only 5. This tiny commitment tricks the barrier of your mind. But the moment you begin, something amazing happens. Momentum kicks in. Inertia breaks and flow begins. Just by starting, your brain releases dopamine, and suddenly you feel motivated. What once felt impossible starts taking shape. Motivation comes after action, not before. This technique has saved me countless times. I remember once when I was writing an important chapter of my book. Fear of failure and expectations froze me. Then I told myself, today, I'll just write for 5 minutes. I typed one sentence, then another, and when I looked at the clock, 2 hours had already passed. Because I didn't wait for motivation, I took the first step. Every time you procrastinate, your brain accepts it as safety and builds it into a habit. But here's the good news, the opposite is also true. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you train your brain to respond with action, not hesitation. But pay attention, your environment matters. The world today is designed to steal your focus. Social media, endless notifications, constant entertainment. If you don't control your environment, it will control you. A cluttered space creates a cluttered mind. Trying to do something creative while keeping your phone beside you is like trying to write poetry in the middle of a rock concert. Impossible. You must create a system for yourself. Shut down distractions. Set a time. Work with intention. And set deadlines too. Move tasks out of the someday category into the by this date category. The human brain respects deadlines and external pressure. Share your intentions with someone you trust. It creates accountability. You won't want to disappoint them. That emotional rope tied to your commitment pulls you forward. Remember, procrastination is not laziness, it is fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being enough. But ultimately, it is a choice, and it's a choice you can change. Every minute you waste waiting for the right time, you lose a moment that could have created progress. Every later pushes your victory further away. Over time, it becomes an invisible grief, the grief of the life that could have been but never was. Do you really think the successful people you admire waited for perfect conditions? Did Walt Disney create his first sketch only when everything was perfect? That idea you're holding back, maybe it could one day earn you more than $100,000. And it might begin with just those 5 minutes. Do you think Helen Keller, blind and deaf from childhood, waited for motivation to learn how to read? She threw herself into chaos, uncertainty, and pain, and she won, because she understood that time never forgives those who wait. Time only rewards those who act, even when they don't feel ready. Because procrastination is self-destruction. Pause for a moment and look at your life. How many things have you delayed in the past months? And what has been the result? Today, your task is simple. Choose one thing you've been postponing for days, weeks, or even years. You don't have to finish it. Just start for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes can break the cycle. Those 5 minutes can set you free. Because the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is neither talent nor luck. The real difference is who decides to start even when they don't feel ready. Discipline is the greatest act of self-love. It has nothing to do with punishment or harshness. It's about respect. Respect for your time, your goals, your life. Discipline is a silent promise you make to yourself every day to be your best, especially when you have no motivation. When everything is in your favor, taking action is easy. But true respect is when you do the right thing even without desire. Most people live by their emotions. If motivation comes, they act. If it doesn't, they wait. And that instability leaves them behind. Motivation is temporary. Comes when it wants and disappears when you need it most. No warning. But discipline, that's a decision. A framework. Taking action without compromise. Every great person I've met created rules for themselves. They followed those rules even when the world offered them excuses, distractions, or shortcuts. They knew that life doesn't reward those who sometimes do a lot, but those who consistently do enough, every single day. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when my bills were piling up, projects were stuck, and my mind was lost in confusion. I woke up late, skipped meals, and started many things without completing any. The problem wasn't talent, it was discipline. Then I made a simple but life-changing decision. Wake up at the same time every day, start with one specific task, and finish it. At first, my body resisted, my mind begged for distraction, but I didn't give up. That's when change began. Slowly, my focus returned, my energy grew, and results started showing. If you truly want to change your life, understand this. Discipline is not about how you feel, but about what you decide. No inner negotiation. When your mind says, later, your answer must be, no, we already decided. That's why I say, never compromise with your emotions. If you let your feelings decide your day, your life will always swing like an unstable pendulum. But if you commit to small actions daily, even in tough conditions, you build a power that no one can take away. Progress doesn't happen overnight. It's built by actions repeated every single day. A small action done today, then tomorrow, then the day after, that becomes an unbreakable habit. Maybe you think you don't have discipline, but discipline is not a gift, it's like a muscle. and just like a muscle, it grows when challenged. But it doesn't start with giant leaps, it begins with small promises. Waking up on time, keeping your word, refusing to quit halfway. Every time you stay true to your word, even when no one is watching, you build trust in yourself. And that trust becomes the foundation of every achievement. Without it, no success can last. I've seen many brilliant minds whose ideas never left the paper because they lacked the discipline to finish them. There was a man I knew, extremely creative, but every few days he jumped to a new idea, leaving the old ones unfinished. The result? He was left with notebooks, files, and endless unfinished plans. But no real creation. His talent was wasted by his inconsistency. And this is more common than you think. How many people have the ability but never take anything to the end? Discipline is the wall that separates dreamers from achievers. It doesn't mean you'll never feel tired, but you'll practice anyway, because you promised yourself. Even when you're exhausted, even when you don't feel like it, you show up for your word. Even if nobody is praising you. If you want something big, you must first learn to win the small battles of each day. Defeat the urge to sleep 5 extra minutes in the morning. Resist the habit of checking your phone at every notification. Overcome the moment when you want to quit halfway. That is your real strength. If you master this skill, the things that once seemed impossible will become your identity. Discipline takes shape within you. It gives you direction. It gives you everything that motivation never can. This is not about talent. It's about building the habit of making the right choice, even in silence. At the end of the day, the question is not whether you're motivated. The question is, will you do what is necessary, even when you don't feel like it? If your answer is yes, then no power can stop you. Because the habit of doing is far greater than the dream of wishing. Discipline is the invisible force shaping your future. Every single day you feel like giving up, discipline whispers, just one more step. If you truly want to move forward, this is your next step. This practice will make you 1% better every single day.